Welcome to Delightfully Dysfunctional, a podcast about navigating the emotions of the human condition and the challenges that come with it. I'm Keilani Persian Mason, a psychotherapist and life coach with James Timmons, an ever-curious human. This is not a replacement for mental health therapy. Please seek out mental health care if that's what you're needing. This is an opportunity for self-healers to dive deep and understand more about themselves. All right, welcome back to Delightfully Dysfunctional. I'm Keilani, and I'm here with my co-host, James.
Hey, friends.
Hello. And I just got back from a vacation to Salem, Massachusetts.
Nice.
Which I feel like most people, they've been surprised by how much I'm ranting and raving. They should probably pay me a profit of their
I thought you guys were in
tourism
Salem,
budget.
Oregon.
No,
I'm kidding.
Oh, jeez. I'm like, I feel like I told you this, James. I can't even catch when he's joking. He's good. He's good. And it was amazing. I highly recommend it. It was so much fun.
And because it was early spring. Because I've always imagined Salem, very famous for the witch trials and everything. Mm-hmm. So I imagine Halloween time to be prime time, right? So then I'm assuming early spring kind of probably feels like fall.
Yeah, it did. I mean, obviously we don't have the big, colorful trees going on at this time of year, but I guess the tourism has been so bonkers that they really, my friend who lives there, she's a local. So she's got the inside scoop. She did not recommend traveling over there from May to November because of how busy it is. So in her opinion, we came at the right time when it was easier to navigate and get into places. But they have the cutest brick little downtown, and the history is super cool. Everything's old and has story behind it, and so I loved that. I'm a history nerd, and the food was really good, and it was fun. When you leave a trip and you leave wanting more, I would totally go back, and there were things we didn't even have time to do, so
That's awesome.
I support it.
Well, I was here.
How was it here?
Same. The usual. We had wind.
Oh,
there was wind. It snowed. It snowed
that's
here
right.
when you guys were there.
Actually, yeah. No, we had just gotten back. We were here for the snow.
Okay.
That was weird.
That was
It was the false winter.
Yeah.
False spring. I guess that's what it is. It's surprise it's spring. Just kidding.
Yeah, we've gotten that a lot lately.
Yeah.
A snowfall in April, and we're just what are we doing with our lives, guys?
I'm sorry. I will forever be this person. I don't know how not, but it is not the same as Minnesota.
Yeah, I believe you. So I should be grateful.
I remember in college, it'd be 50 and people would be out in shorts. Girls are like, woo! Oh my gosh!
Summer
Where's
butt.
my summer dress? And then the next day it'd be 3 feet, and we're back in our parkas shoveling our cars out. It was so drastic.
That sounds gross. I mean, I love the snow, but Christmas. And then it's okay, let's move on from this.
Yeah. I like the seasons to arrive when they are meant to arrive.
Yeah.
Don't postpone.
What's funny though is December is mostly in autumn.
That's true.
No, I'm saying because the first day of winter is December
22nd,
21st.
23rd is the first day of winter, right?
Yeah. So most of December is a fall month. You think December? You think
PSA?
Winter,
if you didn't
Christmas.
know.
You know what's okay? Here's a topic that I could just rail on, since we're already kind of there. Daylight savings time.
Well, are you for or against it?
I'm absolutely against it. Absolutely against it. I don't know anyone who's for it. How do you feel about it?
I'm. Yeah.
Here's the thing, though. Everyone always goes to farmers, but if you ask a farmer, they don't rely on the clocks. They rely on the sun.
Yeah.
And if you set the clocks back or forth, the sun doesn't change. Because they're well, crap, we could be harvesting, but it's 7 o'clock. And that's just not a reasonable time to harvest.
Yeah, I think it is unnecessary. It feels more of a nuisance. I always do say in the spring time change, though, oh, isn't it nice? We have more. I like that.
So just leave it there.
Yeah. Why are we monkeying around?
Because I Googled it, and there's different theories, and so
nowhere else does it.
Yeah.
And right, nowhere else in the world.
Well, I think England used to, but it turns out it was to save candle wax or something. So, and it's a complete relic that we just do it without asking questions.
We're doing this only for the Amish, then. This isn't like a service only for the Amish and their candle wax.
Well, I feel like it was probably really popular in Salem, like original Salem.
Is that where this thought came from? You started thinking about daylight savings time because we're talking about Salem and
season
history
changes and Salem,
candle.
and it just kind of came together. I'm like, I have to say this. There's no, I can't let this go.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, I hate daylight savings, but I'm pretty sure that our state voted to to stop changing the clocks, and it only does bad. It's only bad. Like,
I think this should be. You need to get a petition started.
Well,
it's clearly the next step.
I was to the point where I was going to start a militia, and we were going to storm the Capitol building to get them to stop daylight savings time.
I just pictured your signs being like a clock, like
with an X through it. Yeah,
like I'm angry clock. Yeah. That's like we. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Big feelings about daylight savings.
I mean, I'm sorry. I'm
I'm
trying to be transparent.
You were having some fun last night. You were telling us about your karaoke.
Yeah.
Singing the hits.
Yeah, I've been. Okay, but the thing is, I'm not excited about it right now because I'm feeling the consequences of the choices.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like the karaoke. Mostly because I'm a washed up musician, and that's the only time I can have that outlet.
I feel like I get that. I mean, as a former choir nerd, I choose my Disney songs appropriately when I karaoke. I prefer a lovely ballad, and everyone gets to hear it.
Yeah, you guys need to come out.
I know. I think it was just after the trip we needed a vacation from the vacation, kind of a vibe.
A down day.
Yeah.
How was your game night?
It was wild.
Okay, what games do you guys play?
We just played party games last night, but sometimes we play nerdy games. But last night, or not last night, whatever night that was, a couple nights ago, yeah, it was what is that? Joking Hazard.
Okay,
that's fun.
See, I thought you guys were playing like Friends of Catan or whatever that's called and things like that, and I was like, no, that sounds nerdy.
Well, I should warn you. I'll clarify what type of game night it is, so you know, because sometimes that happens.
If it's those fun catchphase games and things like that,
you show up and we're in
we're ready for AD&D. I'm like, yes.
That would be terrible. A lovely party game is Moniker. I love the game Moniker. It's so fun. It's catchphrase meets where you act it out, charades.
Okay.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Nice.
But love a good game night. But I think we need to be, I'm realizing maybe we're a little bit boring, Zach, and we just had a conversation about how we need to up our cool factor.
No, you guys aren't boring. I think you guys are cool.
With our nerdy games
it's that. Well, you just said you don't play nerdy games.
So sometimes, yeah.
Or you do. You just don't want to confess it. I think Keilani is a nerd in a cool person's body.
If that's true, that second part's a new development. I feel like I look back at pictures. Actually, so the friend we went to visit in Salem, I've been friends with her for 15 years. So we met as little babies at 2021 when we were in South Africa.
Okay.
And I was looking back at pictures and I'm like, what am I some of the things I'm wearing are a 40-year-old, 50-year-old woman should be wearing.
If we left you to your natural habitat.
Yes. I'd look grandma. I'd be grandma style. I'm wearing a turtleneck. I'm kind of still, I can't get rid of it.
If you were the last person on earth, you would just go to Joann's every day.
Yes. And then the bookstore. Yeah. Yes, I would. I really and I'd wear a cardigan, a super cozy cardigan. That would be goals.
Where would I go?
Then I'd swindle everyone at poker in the evening.
You'd
That's
be the last
what I'd
person
want.
on Earth, though.
Oh, the last person. Oh, no, that's sad.
Yeah, that's sad. I'd probably just drink myself to death.
What?
Sorry, that took a dark turn.
Yeah, James, your headspace.
This weekend's been very much about drinking.
Okay.
I have a lot to unpack.
Man, and here I'm like, let's talk about deep stuff. Are you ready for that? Are you ready?
Yes. I'm ready. Okay, here we go.
Okay, these are topics I've been wanting to bring up for a long time, and are topics that I'm really excited about. Today we're going to be speaking about highly sensitive people, and I am a highly sensitive person. It's something that I discovered I don't know how long, we'll say 10-ish years ago. And I felt like it gave me such insight into myself and how to take better care of myself and have healthier relationships. So my hope is that maybe this unlocks some answers for someone else who might be listening and not have the right words or definition for a piece of themselves. So highly sensitive people are about 15 to 20% of the population, according to Dr. Elaine Aron, who's one of the researchers in the field. And this just means that you have a deeper ability to pick up on the sensitivity to your environment sometimes, or to other people's emotions, to be more attuned to them, to have a deeper capacity for empathy and compassion in a rich inner world. You might also be more connected to your beliefs and values. It also comes then with being more prone to anxiety and depression. So there's a flip side to it. And when I started learning more about being a highly sensitive person, it felt like an answer to a question I'd been wondering for a long time, because I felt like their other people's brains or their decision making didn't fit with my inner world. And so the more that I've been able to learn and then connect with other highly sensitive people, it feels really affirming and validating. And it's a trait that can be really heavy if you don't know how to have healthy boundaries. And it's a trait that can feel like a superpower if you really know how to respect it and take care of yourself.
Yeah, because I'm sitting here like, okay, can I relate to this? Because I know that I can be sensitive in a lot of ways, but then I'm probably not highly sensitive, because I think that I knew a person. This person was, in my opinion, very sensitive, where things that would not have like bothered me personally would have really bothered her. I don't know. That's a really, really vague description. But I mean, I guess tell me more about what the characteristics of a highly sensitive person are.
Sure. Other characteristics are that they might get easily overstimulated or overwhelmed. So some highly sensitive people are more introverted. Actually, I'd say the majority of highly sensitive people are more introverted. And it's kind of like overwhelmed by noises, or there's too many people, or like the stimuli can be a lot, and that's can be a piece of it. There's also, like, I think I'm kind of in the category of high sensation seeking highly sensitive people. It's a long explanation, where like I like a balance. Like public speaking isn't something I think most highly sensitive introverted people, as a generalization, might want to do. I like the excitement of it. Like I also went skydiving and like traveling. Like I like a balance, which for me has been really difficult to navigate and figure out, ooh, there's a sweet spot that I've got to find. I've done a little bit of juggling in the past. So there's some of these pieces to being a highly sensitive person where there are certain environments that feel more comfortable than others, and they pay attention to that. I think I have a lot of clients who have issues with going to school, more so because of a high sensitivity than like defiance. So they might have more emotional reactivity too, feel a greater sensitivity to criticism or feeling hurt. They may need extra time to feel alone or be alone and kind of like alone with their thoughts, alone to process. Difficulty in transitions and change, that can be sometimes an aspect of highly sensitive people, and struggle with coping with stress and self-doubt. So there's a dark side to this high sensitivity, even though there's a lot of beautiful gifts too.
Yeah. So, okay, so would you say that you being a highly sensitive person, and you have very high empathy. And so would you say you have very high empathy because you know, like, how you've struggled with, you know, sensitivities or whatever?
I think that I think there's a debate about whether high sensitivity is something that's developed or something that comes biologically. And there've actually been researchers and neuroscientists who've studied this and found that in some cases there's more connectivity to certain parts of your brain, to your prefrontal cortex, and to your ability to communicate and connect with emotion. This researcher, I'm going to like butcher her name, of Bianca Acevedo. Thank you. That's probably right. But she suggests that neurological traits of highly sensitive people, they are a part of a greater responsiveness to emotional stimuli in the brain and more integrated, nuanced process of emotional information. So it's like there's more depth to how they can pick up on emotional details or subtleties, like in someone's body language or in the tone of what they're saying. You can like pull out more information. Yeah.
Well, it's because, like my kids they're very attuned to compassion because their mom is really compassionate person. And then me, I was always like pretty callous. And so like there would be times where we'd be driving down the road and I would like say something like road ragey or whatever, and my kids would say something like, well, Daddy, you don't know what they're going through today, you know? And so I'm like, oh, you know, thank you for the reminder. But I've always admired that about highly sensitive people, is because it's like, you know, kind of like how it feels to, I don't know, be judged or whatever. Am I talking all over the place?
No, I think it's... Yeah, there's an ability to maybe put ourselves in other people's positions, but it can come with a like burden of kind of caring too much sometimes.
Yeah. Where you see like you see too much. I don't know, because you because you felt more than a normal person would have felt.
Well, I mean, we feel deeply, but I think the way you were raised is going to really influence how your high sensitivity shows up too. And if you are practicing healthy boundaries, that's going to make a big difference as well. So I think for someone who doesn't understand their trait and doesn't understand healthy boundaries, it could be really easy to overgive and care too much and have like compassion fatigue and then not have enough energy to take care of yourself or your family and feel kind of depleted.
Yeah. And it's probably hard for highly sensitive people to set boundaries, right?
It can be really hard. It's been a very big practice and has taken time. It's a skill that I don't think I had when I was younger. And so I did take on too much, like a bleeding heart. I would want to help and help and help. Like I've worked in nonprofits and only had caregiving positions my whole life because I knew I was good at it. But there's also high burnout and compassion fatigue in those types of professions too, because you know, I'd bend over backwards to help the people I was working with because I felt connection or compassion with them. There's a really great metaphor that I like for highly sensitive people. Do you know that phrase, the canary in the coal mine, or that reference? So when people would work in coal mines, they would bring a canary bird in a cage because they were perceptive to the toxic gases before humans. So they would start chirping and making noise, notifying that the oxygen in the air and the toxicity of the air was reaching a dangerous level. So they had this high sensitivity and could sense and respond to these subtle changes in the environment in a way to notify and let others know. So I think that's kind of a great way to think about highly sensitive people being a bit more attuned to this emotional landscape or cues that others may overlook. And they can kind of have an idea of that impact on the impact on in the environment too, on like crowded places or noises and like the logistical things sometimes. I don't want to sell it as like a we're better than everyone. Highly sensitive people, right? Like there can be unhealthy, highly sensitive people. There can be unhealthy ways that shows up. It's a complication in a lot of ways, or it's a hard thing to navigate, especially since the average person doesn't know what a highly sensitive person is.
Yeah.
Had you ever heard of that term before I brought it up?
I didn't realize that it was an actual like term,
right? Just like, oh, you're sensitive.
Yeah.
You're a sensitive person, right?
Yeah.
But this is like a trait and a term and a thing that's been defined and researched. So that's my hope. My stepmom gave me a book called Highly Sensitive People and picked up on it from things and conversations we'd had and just said, I think you should read this. And it just opened up a lot of insight for me of like, I'm not as weird or as like, I don't feel as confused by myself or confused by other people, because this book made so much sense and connected to like parts of my inner world that maybe I didn't know how to talk about with someone else.
Yeah.
So Dr. Elaine Aron has a couple of books on high sensitivity, and sometimes it's also interchanged with the word empath, being an empath.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So there's a debate among people in the highly sensitive person community, I suppose. I'm going to say potato. So sometimes as well, people who come from a background of trauma might be overly sensitive and triggered or have a trauma response. And there's similarities and differences to that, where being overly like hyper aware isn't the same thing as being highly sensitive. I'm not sure how exactly to explain it, but like if someone has like a PTSD, they might be like more aware of cues or of walking on eggshells, or whatever it might be based on their trauma that they went through, and that could look like being a highly sensitive person. Sometimes it's coming from a different origin, and it's a bit different way to treat those two things.
Okay.
I feel like if there's someone experiencing that, they might understand. Hopefully I kind of explained it well. But if you are a highly sensitive person, what I think is really important to pay attention to is, when are you feeling overly stimulated? Are those moments happening when you're just kind of like, I'm feeling tapped out or emotionally drained? Are you experiencing any negative thought patterns? Because that might be a stuck place for someone who is highly sensitive. Are you isolating yourself? Do you feel like you are able to have healthy boundaries and practice self-care? Or are you just giving and giving and giving to everyone without giving yourself that space to recharge? And practicing mindfulness has been a huge piece of my ability to have self-care when it comes to deep breathing or really mindful movement or a yoga practice, spending time outside, gratitude. Those are all aspects of mindfulness that, I think everyone should practice, but they might be even more important for a highly sensitive person who is just like kind of taking in so much stimuli all the time, since they have that different connection to like an emotional world. And find a community. There's online communities. I love the podcast Emotional Badass. It's hosted by a highly sensitive person, a psychotherapist and life coach, and she provides a really great background, Nikki Eisenhower, into how to cope well as a highly sensitive person. But this would be a great opportunity if you're resonating to how I'm describing HSPs, then be curious about that and try to learn more. They are one of my favorite one of my favorite populations to work with as a therapist, because there's kind of an intuitiveness that's fun to play with as a client-therapist relationship.
And they're probably not as angry, I guess, would you say? I don't know. Sorry, I'm presuming.
I don't know. They're just they have a unique worldview, I think.
Yeah.
Highly sensitive people might have like a unique worldview. So if I do have a wait list, but I'm able to work with people locally or honestly internationally as a life coach. And my information is going to be linked in our link tree if you would like to work with me as a client. But highly sensitive people and really navigating having healthy boundaries and good self-care and understanding your family history, all of that, they tend to coalesce. That tends to be common themes of what a highly sensitive person might be navigating.
Nice. I had a friend yesterday ask me about if you have openings for therapy, and I said no, she has a wait list. But I've actually gotten that question a lot lately.
That doesn't mean they shouldn't join the wait list. Like, then you're at least on it and you'll get contacted.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, when I hear wait list, I just hear like you're like a backup. You're in backup position for the unforeseeable future. You know.
Yeah. No, there's people who don't even have a wait list, and then that's what that would mean. But they could be added to the wait list, and it would be like, it might be 6 weeks, it might be 2 months, but like you'll be contacted.
Oh, sweet. Does it feel awesome that you have a wait list?
I mean, if we unfortunately have a community that doesn't have enough mental health counselors, so everyone has a wait list. So I feel really bad when I get phone calls from people who are needing and wanting something more urgently, and my answer to having a wait list, I can sense their disappointment, and that is really hard because this is where my boundary has to come into place. Where like I've said yes before.
Yeah, well, you can't. I mean, you can only
work
work so many hours.
And then I'm spread too thin. And is the quality of my care then the same? Or is the quality of the time that I spend with my family the same?
Yeah.
So like it's these types of things. It's like, it actually was a great example of like how, as a highly sensitive person, I have to have a very different awareness. Like there's a certain number of clients that I see in my day, and if I see more than that, I'm gonna feel burnt out.
Yeah. Well, if you're on Keilani's wait list, just hit me up and we'll party and do karaoke and get drunk.
Karaoke therapy?
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
We'll sing really sad songs.
Oh, okay. Sing sad songs therapy.
Dashboard confessional only.
I like sad songs. I'm into sad songs.
I do too normally, but not when I'm sad.
Not when you're sad?
Well, I was all into emo. That was my thing.
I realized I don't really know any of the music that you did before.
Should we pull up some of my old music?
I feel like today we should change that.
What do you mean?
I'm gonna YouTube it later.
Oh.
It's gonna happen. I'm gonna find something.
I can show you one of my old shows back in 2007.
We're gonna link it to everyone. You can experience it too. Yes. I almost want to flip the question back then and say, like, what maybe you've identified someone now who's been in your life who had some of these qualities and traits of being highly sensitive, right? Yeah. What were the benefits and what were the struggle areas for you in knowing them? Is that too hard to answer?
That's an awesome question. No, I love that you just did that. Okay, let's just roll with it. Sorry, say that question one more time.
Yeah, what were the benefits of like them being highly sensitive that you thought were really? You've mentioned some, like you feel like your kids are compassionate, or that like they are a compassionate person.
Definitely
for knowing them, for being in their life. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely like opened my eyes to being more compassionate and empathetic, because this highly sensitive person was so attuned to like seeing it from other people's perspective. Where, like I said, I was really callous. I didn't care. But then it, like, opened my eyes a lot over that span of time to just give people the benefit of the doubt and think the best about people. Mm-hmm. Because she just always was self-conscious about being judged, or that people were talking bad about her, you know. And
so that's maybe that flip side of where that like anxiety can come up, right?
So that was the negative, where she had like severe social anxiety, and it was crippling. It was almost it was very similar to like depression, and but yeah, so it's almost like this. I don't know if this is a good analogy, but there's this one movie, I'll find it, but it was with Tom Cruise where he's like a future cop, and like there was these people that would float in the water, and they could like see a murder that was going to happen. They would predict
like
these
premonition.
crimes. Yeah. Yes, Minority Report. And so and then that they would go arrest the people before they committed the murder. And so I've always so I'm imagining this highly sensitive person as like one of those people in the pool. Like they have a superpower, they can see the future, but then they're locked away in a really dark, floating, no sensory.
That's really interesting. That's really interesting. Yeah, I think it would be, honestly, as a highly sensitive person, I think it would, I can see how I am also really frustrating. I can see how I would be, I am frustrating. I'm sorry, Zach. I know it. Because I think there's times where I might get confused in when it is like oh, I'm picking up on something as a highly sensitive person versus I'm picking on something and it's actually me being a little anxious today about this or that. And if we don't know how to filter out what the dysfunctional thoughts are that can lead to high anxiety, like fortune telling, or thinking that we can predict the future, thinking that I know what people is on their mind, and filtering out positive things, only paying attention to the negative. If we're not careful of like watching out for that, it can really skew a highly sensitive person's ability to give themselves some grace. Yeah. And be maybe too highly critical of themselves. And that is frustrating, I think, for people that are close to someone, because that's like a lack of security in themselves. So it's a challenge, I think, as someone who might know a highly sensitive person, or a confusion probably sometimes as to why they feel overstimulated, or why they don't want to, go do this or that. It's not always sunshine and roses. Well, and I could see, it's good that we're talking about this, because I could see somebody who's not highly sensitive, like dating somebody who is highly sensitive and just being frustrated with those sensitivities. But then it's like, well, then go back to like curious culture, and then have some sympathy and compassion for them. And because it is like a superpower, and it's a really good thing. And so as long as you're aware of like what's going on underneath, I feel like it can be a really like beautiful part of a relationship, And for like, if you're not highly sensitive a person right now and you don't identify with those qualities or traits, don't feel bad. Like there's lots of qualities and traits that I don't have. I am not athletic. I don't have, like, my brain doesn't know how to do things in that kind of a flow, and I'm not coordinated. There are lots of things that I'm not good at. This might be the one thing I'm good at, So like, highly sensitive people, I don't think anyone is out there like, they shouldn't be bragging about it, because it's not like an ego flex. It's just a description of something that's kind of like complicated to understand. Like, I feel relief that I'm at a point where I can have a better understanding of it, but there are so many years of confusion and so many years of uncertainty and of being dismissed because it's not understood, or a feeling like I'm the only one who thinks this way and feels isolating. So it's like, I don't want to talk about it like it's so great. It's a mix, just like everything in life. Well, it's like Professor X from X-Men. He can read everyone's minds, but it's almost like a curse, but then he uses it to like bring up the X-Men. I don't know if you understand that reference. Yeah, you come up with the best movie references. It's great. Oh, thank you. Yeah, good like pop culture movie references. I mean, I'm glad I have more hair than him. I can at least... He started with hair. Did you guys ever watch the original X-Men? Actually, yeah. I forgot. Yeah, those are good. Well, every single movie or show that I watch, I always see like some connection to, and usually that's they've embedded that deliberately anyway. But no, I feel like we could just have a whole sideshow. We talked about this, about just gleaning mental health things from SpongeBob or something, All right, it is time for advice. We need to have. I know. We're about to say the same thing. Yes, I know. I just realized it as I did that. I didn't have anything after advice, so I was like, "Dang, it's time for advice time." It needs to be super cheesy though. Yeah, we'll come up with something. Okay, if you have suggestions, let us know in the comments. Yeah, I was gonna try to freestyle. It's gonna be terrible. Go ahead. Okay. Hello, love your podcast, by the way. I've been in a stable relationship for about a year and a half.
Oh, well, you don't need our advice. Next one.
Up until 3 days ago.
Oh my gosh. Start over.
So this person just went through a breakup. We are mid to late 20s. We do not live together. Some of our core values that we promised each other in the beginning of our relationship were honesty, communication, commitment to each other, and seeking understanding for one another. We have stuck to those values and have grown even with our different lifestyles. This person, I'm going to skip around, they did write a lot, and I love that they were able to give me all of this information. They really love their job. They feel really good about the ways that it has brought them closer to their partner. But the reason they're reaching out is because their partner is starting to explore their sexuality differently and is feeling as though they want to explore bisexuality or even what a lesbian relationship could look like.
Oh, so this is the male?
This is the male who wrote in.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And like wanting to like honor and give her that space, which I think is a like that. I know that that's a maybe outside of the box way to view relationships, but I can see that being also maybe a really loving thing to do if there is still a commitment to the partner. However, this person did say that they broke up 3 days ago, and she's wanting it to be more of a let's...
Like an open relationship or something?
I think she's wanting more of an open relationship, and he's feeling like, well, he's still wanting to feel obviously important, and like he's the main partner, and that, yeah. What are your thoughts as you're hearing this? Because it gets complicated.
I mean, because like on the one hand, you think that like the loving thing to do is to let them go and explore their sexuality and stuff, but it's like me personally, if I'm in a relationship, I'm monogamous. I want. Well, okay, I shouldn't. You guys know my history, so I can't really just plant my flag in that. But I want only one partner, and I want
the James in front of us right now. Sees his wrongs, and that's what you want. Yeah, I can.
But so no matter, even if it's like to be curious about sexuality, I still feel like that would be a rejection, and yeah, like my personal boundary is like if our relationship leaves me feeling insignificant, then I don't want that relationship to continue. Either it needs to improve, or I don't want that relationship. And so I can imagine that this guy, wait, did he provide a name or like an alias or something?
He provided a name. Let me make sure.
Okay, we can give him a
Luke.
Name. Luke. Okay. So if Luke is feeling insignificant, then I don't think he should feel bad for feeling that way.
Because she is asking for more space, and I think, but what I'm hearing too, she's sending some really confusing messages, and I think she's trying to soften things for Luke, but Luke might be hanging on to hope in what she's saying. Like, she said things like, you are the type of dream partner I always wanted when I was a little girl.
But she doesn't feel that way anymore.
But I want to explore this. And I think we view romantic love as being unconditional, but it has conditions. It has conditions like, can you prioritize this relationship and commit to it if that's what both people want? And at the beginning of this, he said that honesty and commitment were communication. These were all things that they wanted and were seeking. So if you're redefining what commitment looks like, both people need to be on the same page. Yeah. I've heard this doesn't feel like commitment to me when you're asking for space in a way, like she's asking for the break asking to explore a relationship with a woman or with bisexuality.
Yeah, I mean, this is a hard truth. Well, I don't know if, okay, this is a hard thing to hear for him probably, but that, in my opinion, like she's moving on. She's done with the relationship. And so Luke, it sounds like he's grieving. He's in the denial phase probably. And so, But as long, I mean, but if you're aware of that you're experiencing grief, then you know like what to kind of expect. So then you can look forward to acceptance at some point. But it's such a brutal process, and so if I were in a situation, but I can't even say that truthfully because I would probably be just as confused as him, especially if she's sending mixed signals, and that's like she gets in your head, and then like that's all you think about. It's painful.
Yeah.
And so, but from an outside perspective, I would just say, like, really explore if you are experiencing grief and if she's coming back. Because I would say, don't start moving on with your life like she's not coming back. And if she does, then, visit it then.
Yeah, I think that he's holding a lot of hope that this is a phase and not a breakup. But another aspect of it is he talked about being a former athlete and kind of taking it on as a challenge, that goal-oriented challenge. And I think that this is a situation when the best outcome for you is walking away, and that can feel like there isn't a lot of closure when you really care about someone. Yeah. You can really care about someone and love them and see all the ways that you're compatible. And unfortunately, at the same time, they can be the wrong person for you. And someone, like, to sacrifice yourself, Luke, and tell yourself that it's okay to not feel chosen. And that seems to be what he wants, really. Like, he wants her to choose him. Yeah. That is kind of an act that's allowing a disrespect for what you're needing, because everything that there's an undertone of him really wanting just a present partner, but wanting to be understanding enough to let her try this at the risk of it hurting him quite deeply. Where I've kind of landed in life is I don't want to chase anyone. I want to be like attractional. So I just feel like you want to find that security with someone. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with him wanting to feel chosen. Yeah. Because I mean, she is displaying that she's not choosing him, and so she's even said she does not feel like it's fair for her to ask him to wait. Which is actually, that's good clarity that she provided. And it's painful. Mm-hmm. So that's very good information. Yeah. It's a much bigger question mark that they're navigating, and even making the phrases or saying statements, about I might be a lesbian, I might be full gay. Mm-hmm. And I think that Luke, for the sake of him protecting his heart, he should take some time to maybe not be in contact with this person in a kind way, but have some distance, and try to distract himself and with some healthy outlets. Yeah, but the shitty thing is that sometimes you will try to like ghost the person and move on, and you'll get pretty far down that road, and then they'll come back, and then they'll plant some more seeds. So hopefully she doesn't do that. But if she does, like, how would you say he can safeguard himself from that if he's committed to moving on? And I think when you can find a moment of clarity where you can realize at the end of the day, these are the specifics of why we are wanting different things, maybe write that down as a note to your future self, or a note in your phone to look at and reference, and kind of remember that, like, in a bigger picture way, this isn't meeting your needs. Yeah. And at the same time, realizing that you can say it still hurts, or I still miss them, or like there's still aspects I liked about them. But if it's at the end of the day, it isn't meeting the core values that, according to Luke, he says that he wants and needs, then I want him to honor that, because there's totally going to be someone out there who wants to give him honesty and communication and commitment and support one another and understand one another. I mean, like, come on, anyone want to write into Luke? Luke is a hot commodity here. He's an athlete. I don't know. I have no photo, but on paper, Luke, buddy, like, you've got good qualities, and I would love for you to find someone who can value what you're bringing to the table. I think that this person that you have feelings for, like, it's not in your best interest to pursue.
Yeah, but it sucks so bad because like when you have your heart set on someone, and then and you let your guard down to that person, and then they just like, you know, sabotage that. It's so hard to move on from that. I mean, you will move on, but like
in the moment you're empathizing with Luke.
But then you're holding that spot for them, so then they do have the freedom to abuse that and keep coming back and forth. And that just messes with you so bad.
The healthy boundary is that continual knowing of like, and at the end of the day, what do I need to do to take care of me and to honor my values and my boundaries? And that might mean like, hey, I'm sorry, Susie. I don't know this person's name. I'm sorry, Susie. I'm needing to take some time for myself right now. I'm glad that you are navigating your journey.
Here's how I would phrase it, is that I would say, I'm amazing, and if you disagree, then fuck you. And then just live in that.
But you have two options of advice, Luke, and you can decide which one you want to take. Thank
I feel like
you.
we agree.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm gonna go be me and build my best life, and you're welcome to be part of that if you meet the criteria. But as long as you don't, then you're not welcome to be part of that, right?
Yeah, you should have requirements for the people in your life that fuel you being feeling secure, feeling happy in that relationship, especially like the partner that you choose. That is a decision that you get to make. So I think that these are important things to vet. I'm hearing I think there were a lot of reasons that he felt compatible with this person, and that can feel really frustrating. But there's more fishies out in the sea. I know that sounds so like eye-rolly and like, ooh, but when? But I remember feeling that way when I was in the dating pool too. Like, well, it's easier said than done. No. Dating is a battlefield. It is a battlefield out there, and it's just trusting in that process and trusting in your values is going to give you a better result in the long run than trying to make something that already has some red flags force it to work. So in the end, when you take that like wide angle lens like view of it, there's really just one answer if you're really protecting your highest self and wanting a happy, healthy relationship, because it can't be forced here. So I hope that helped you. Yeah, I hope that helped, Luke. Thank you so much for writing in. Again, you can write to us and give us your story that you might want advice or insight on. We are happy to take the time to give you our thoughtful opinions. It is not a replacement for mental health therapy, but we're happy to give an insightful response.
Yeah, and if that doesn't work, then you can do psychedelic disco therapy with me.
And karaoke? Yeah, wow. It's an innovative new strategy.
We're taking it from all angles.
Oh, my. Thank you so much for watching Delightfully Dysfunctional. You can like, comment, and subscribe here on YouTube, but also on any platform where podcasts are streamed. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, we're everywhere. Come find us, like, comment, subscribe. We'd love for you to join our community. We will see you next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.